Hi, this is Scott from Plays for Soldiers, and I'm joined today by Dan, who is Heresy is my therapy, the slapchop extraordinaire himself.
Oh, extraordinaire. Come on, mate.
Dan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am. I'm Dan, the slap chop extraordinaire, if you will. I would say extraordinaire. Yeah, I'm Dan. I run the Heresy is my therapy YouTube channel and Instagram page. Um, that's really kind of I slap chop stuff. I have become the black sheep amongst the painting community, if you will, for slap chopping and promoting and kind of being I wouldn't say championing slap chop, but I am definitely driving slap chop for people and its benefits to many of us in the real world of um, life with family, full-time job, and limited time, shall we say? So yeah, that's me. Oh no, what have I done there? Wow, I clicked a wrong button and it's just gone love hearts everywhere. That seems very self-grandizing, doesn't it? Oh no.
I mean, are we proud much?
Oh, that's embarrassing. What a start. What a start. Well, for those who don't know you, Scott, who are you?
Okay, so I'm Scott from Plays for Soldiers. I do board games and RPGs and mini wargaming. Um, so I do board game reviews. I do RPGs, all sorts of RPGs. At the moment, uh, things that we're covering on the channel are the D&D campaign, which is Storm King's Thunder, and that's with my regular gaming group. So you get posts up about every couple of weeks about them and their shenanigans, and also like painting Warhammer and stuff. I got back into 40k last year, got into Kill Team, so doing things like that. That is me.
Well, before you had that majestic beard, you had a majestic mustache. You really did. A majestic mustache. But now you have a majestic beard, which is just great. I ended up trimming mine and it looks horrendous on the lighting. We'll go with the lighting, shall we?
Yes,
We'll
go
go with
with
lighting.
lighting. Yeah, I think I'm pushing the rules a little bit with mine. I think mine's a bit on the big side, but if you stay low and move fast away from authority, then you can get away with quite a lot.
I hear you. And yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, so obviously that's our introductions done. So I thought the first thing that we'd chat about today, because we're going to chat about a bunch of different things, but I thought the first thing we would chat about would be you hitting your 20,000 subscribers. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the whole Instagram thing is it's a bit wild really. Oof, hitting 20,000 followers on Instagram, it's really cool. I will say that I never, if you'd have asked me this time last year, or even like 6 months ago, would I've hit that? No, I guess I'm getting better at understanding the algorithm, how it works, but also actually just pushing out that you don't need to have heavy metal like white dwarf front cover stuff. You can just have a very simple system that makes the models look well enough for the table. No planning on winning any competitions, but you can get your models done. And I've, like say, leading that the slap chop thing, and evidently people seem to like it. I'm sure like half of those are bots from Russia, of course, but nevertheless, it's really cool to see growing in that space and like the kind of people that I never thought I'd have as that I'd follow that wouldn't get as followers back. So to have like someone like Darren Lantham followers back, I was just like proper like, ah, this is the coolest day of my life. you know, um, and other people like that within the community. And when you see those photos, it's really cool. So yeah, it's really good. It's opened up a lot of doors for some stuff, and has allowed me to kind of engage with companies, engage with people, and it's just opening a few more doors in the Warhammer space, which is just really cool. It's really humbling. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really cool. Especially when you go on the fact that you don't. I think hopefully what it's done is, and there's a few of us that I speak to on Darkened Wings as an example, Lady Kane as an example. You know, we're not Golden Demon heavy metal painters, and I think for many of the people in the community, maybe it's a nice thing to see that you don't need to have that level of painting, unattainable painting standard that you see to have a good following and a good community within that. And I think that's really what's quite nice about it all as well. So yeah, I think if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would you say, you know, you just said about like having a bit of a fanboy moment there when you got followed back by somebody. Who would you say is the most the best person that you've had follow you, that they followed you and you've gone, oh, I think I might have made it now because this person follows me.
I wouldn't say it's like a made it now moment, but when I had Darren Anthem, you know, a very prolific painter within the Warhammer community, follow us back and like a few of the photos, I was just like, this is really cool. This is really cool. You know, Warhammer Girl, Spence Painting, you know, a couple of those guys as well who's followed us back, and you know, I've messaged a few times and discussed about some bits and pieces. Fit Hammer as well, you know, he's followed us back on some stuff. So it's nice to see some of those prolific people within the community. You know, Warhammer still haven't followed us for some unknown reason, no, but you know, but like those kind of people within the community space, that's been really quite cool. And it's just like, oh, this is yeah, it's just a really it's just quite cool. Yeah, so it's basically the summary of that one.
Fantastic. So obviously on the slapchop front, I thought I'd have a quick chat about the Jaegers that I'm currently doing. So these are the Jaegers, in fact, from that Termination box set that's placed on your shelf right there. So I never slapchopped before. I'd heard of it, you know, didn't know anything about it. Obviously, when we met at the beginning of the year, you know, we had a discussion about techniques and paints and all this sort of stuff. I said, oh, I'm still not entirely sure. And then for those of you who have seen the Strike Force Justian that I've been using at various kill team tournaments and things like that, they were all painted by Dan. And I looked at them and I was like, oh, they are lovely. And I get so many comments from people when I go to tournaments, things like that, with people just saying, oh, you know, these are really good. You know, how did you do this? And I was like, I've got no idea. I didn't do them.
That's really cool to hear, man.
But, you know, I always kind of show them your Instagram page. It's like, this is the guy that's done it. Give him a like and a follow. See some of the stuff that he's done. But yeah, prompted to that, I thought I'd jump in and give the Jaegers a go. So I'm about 50% of the way through there now. And it's such an easier way to paint things, you know. I'm really enjoying it because obviously it's not just, you know, you have to use slapchop for the whole thing. It's like, oh well, actually with this sword I want to use non-metal metal and things like that. You know, it's being able to mix and match those various techniques on different parts of the model to get the best out of it. But I found using slapchop as a base to then bolt these works really well for me at the moment. So that's my current slapchop adventure. But yes, you're no stranger to controversy in the slapchop world yourself, are you, Dan?
No. So first thing, I think, like I said, I've seen yours, and they look really good. And considering that's like one of your first times of doing it, just getting like the real basics, you know, formulated on there and put on. Like I say, they take, you know, slapchop can take 20 minutes if you really wanted it to. You know, it took me a little bit longer. But like you say, you can get, you know, how long if you'd have done it like the way you've done like your Plague Marines. How long would have those Jaegers taken you? You know, you still would have been on the first, second, maybe even third, let alone half the team done. So yeah, the Your Jaegers are looking, really, really nice. The browns are looking good. And I think that kind of Jaeger, a lot of models lend themselves really well to slapchop. A lot of people say, oh, it's soulless, or it's cheating, or oh, you can't do larger stuff. And it's like, well, actually, I've done a dreadnought, I've done a few bits and pieces of it. But I suppose stumbling across slapchop was, oh my goodness, it would have been not this time last year, it would have been like about a year and a half ago when I stumbled across a TikTok video that was talking about 5 different ways of speed painting. And slapchop was one of them. And I saw it and I was like, no, I'm not having this. This is no. Stop. Edit. And I just thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. Did the stuff that they said, and then I did an ultramarine, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me here. You mean to tell me I've been trying to do like every metal level of every single model because that's apparently the standard this entire time? This has been available to me. And I was just like, well, I'm converted. And then I just kind of started to not make it my own, but find ways of getting rid of the blotchiness with slapchop that it can often bring. So 2 major things I changed with it was using Lamium medium to thin the contrast paints down and build up 2 thin coats. And then the final one was the Xandri Dust dry brush at the end. So this is basically like get your dry brush, get some Xandri Dust, and I mean and I say on other tutorials, take absolutely like all of it off the brush and just feather feather dry brush over the model, and it just kind of gives it a bit of a grim dark sort of like edge highlight, a bit of a dusty, dirtier feel to the model, and it kind of gets rid of that like the lining and the sort of like streaks and the blotchiness. And I was just like, well, this is how I paint now. And then from there, I watched a few videos on like color theory from what was the name? I feel this is really, really embarrassing because I'm like a biggest fan. Oh no, Savage Orc. Oh no.
Yeah, Miss Sugden.
Yes, Louis Sugden. Yes. So watched a few videos on like color theory and putting certain colors underneath to change it. So when I first did Blood Angels, if you go back to one of my first Blood Angels tutorials, I used normal slapchop base, Administratum Grey, sorry, Chaos Black, dry brush with Administratum Grey, dry brush with Ultime Grey, and then either White Scar or Corax White. But I went straight from that to then applying Blood Angels over the top. But it comes out almost like orangey pink, not that deep, rich red that you want. So when I came back to doing the Blood Angels model again, the Sergeant Jobin model, you'll see the really stark contrast. So what I did this time is I put Magma Draw Flame down first, which is a very vibrant orange, then Blood Angels red, and then kind of riched it a bit more with Flesh Terrors. So with slapchop, you always work like light to dark, as opposed to dark to then build at the light, which is what I've been finding. So with every single mod, I'm always finding new ways of just like making it better. Yes, it takes a bit longer on time, but I can still paint a full miniature in an hour from base to complete in an hour. So, if I needed to, I could get a full squad done in a day, whereas I remember edge highlighting models, you'd just be there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And as you know, having a family, having a full-time job, and having like, an hour or 2 a night, if you're lucky, I've got a pile of shame we're not even scratching the surface, you know what I mean? So, when we've got that, I just want a way to get your models looking nice without having to spend hours and hours and hours. But just like say, when you're on the tabletop, it just goes, oh, they look nice.
Yeah.
Not like, it hasn't got to be like, whoa, my God, they're incredible. It's just like, oh, they look really nice. What did you do there? Or how did you do that? It's like, oh, this literally took me half an hour and this is all I did. And people go, okay, fair enough. And I get it, slapchop's not for everyone, I know. But for me and my line of work, and for beginners or like people like us, dads with minimal time and a full-time job with family, I think it works. It works well. So a bit of a slapchop ramble there, I know. But that's basically the slapchop journey. And now here we are doing like full-time slapchop. So
So what's the next thing on the slapchop table then? What's the next model that you're going to be tackling?
Actually, it is. So potentially by the time this goes out, it will be the Von Ryan Leapers from the new Combat Patrol. So I've got that to do. I've also got some stuff from Dable Games. They've sent me out some miniatures to do. So I've got a few dwarfs I'd want to get done. What else have I got? I've got probably from the Kill Team Termination, some of the Gene Stealer cultists in there. And of course, hopefully the next edition of Combat Patrol, it will be that new Pyre-Blaster Sergeant. So that'd be quite cool to do. So yeah, the list is endless. You know, I've got Krieg Guardsmen to do. I've got, and I've got loads and loads that I want to do. It's one building, basing them, prepping them, then obviously setting it all up. But yes, Tyranids, some Dwarves, some Imperial Guard, and then just whatever else I can just throw together and just do. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I was taking Strike Force Justin to various tournaments and things, and they were getting oohed and ahed over by the other players. So this is the moment that I'm going to talk a little bit about IRONBULL that we ran. So for those of you who don't know, IRONBULL was a kill team tournament that I ran in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago. It was a charity tournament in aid of Models for Heroes, who use model making, not just Warhammer or fantasy sci-fi, but also World War II airfix kit type stuff. But basically it's model making in a way to promote mental health and PTSD therapy and recovery. And this is available to members of the armed forces, but also the blue light services as well. So we did the tournament to raise money for them. That was a absolute roller coaster. Around, man. I mean, when you say, "Oh, I just want to get a few guys together to stand around the table and play dice," gosh, there were so many hoops to jump through. But we persevered and we got there. It was initially only open to members of the military. We then managed to get that lifted, but that was because of the location where we were holding it. We managed to get that lifted, but then because a lot of members of the military were signed into it, we had 6 people from a particular unit who had all bought tickets, and then they were all mobilised at the same time. 6 players drop out as a one-er, and it was just like, okay then.
It's always the way, isn't it?
But so we ended up we had one person drop out literally at midnight the night before, because he was an on-call engineer and he got a call and he's like, I'm going to be working on this job until probably about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm not going to be able to come. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So I ended up having to step in because we were at such low numbers. We ended up with 6 players, which at one point we had 15. And we went as low as 2, and then we got back up to 6. So yeah, absolute roller coaster. But I figured that it wouldn't be fair to give people buys at such a low player count. Yeah, we went originally. We were in a 2-day tournament with 6 games. We went down to 1 day for 4 games. But yeah, it was a heck of a roller coaster. But I learned a lot from it. We ended up we raised 230 quid for the charity.
Amazing.
Which is better than a poke in the eye with a chopstick.
Absolutely.
And we've had some people who didn't come to the tournament at all but knew about it, and they've made direct donations to the charity. Because obviously they've seen my posts and they've asked for links and stuff like this. But yeah, next time. I think the next one we're going to run is going to be at the end of March or sometime in March, and we're going to open it up. We're still going to have the Kill Team tournament, which will be X amount of pounds for a ticket or whatever, and have the prize pool and everything involved. But then we'll also open it out to be a bit of a game day. So if you want to come down and just play 40k or play Bolt Action or whatever it is, you pay a fiver and you come down and you play for the day, or you sit at the table and you paint minis or whatever it is you do, And there's free brew kit in the corner, so you can just sit and paint and drink brews all day, So yeah, that's going to be IRONBULL 2, which is going to be next.
That just sounds good. Just a quick one on that one. So, how did you find running a tournament? So, I know that you had the challenges which we've spoken about, offline, and have shared in the frustration that comes with our line of work. But as a tournament organizer, how did you find that? How was that for you?
It was a really steep learning curve. I've played in tournaments before. I went to Leicester. I played in the Goonhammer tournament a few months ago, and it really is a case of when you're a punter, you just turn up. There's my 20 quid. Here's some models. Play super. And that's it. Seeing it from the other side of the fence, and especially all of your legal stuff like risk assessments and things like that, but also the marketing. You don't want to be, well, I didn't want to be too pushy, so if I was mentioning the tournament in a whole bunch of groups, and I'd mention it once every sort of 2 or 3 weeks, because I didn't want to be seen as pushy or sort of spamming an event.
Yeah, of course.
But on the flip side of that, if you don't talk about it, nobody knows about it, and then nobody buys tickets. So it's finding that balance.
Yeah.
But the actual running the tournament itself, so we used BCP, so Best Coast Pairings, which was an absolute godsend because everybody could sign onto it before they got to the tournament. I then just accepted them in on the morning. It sorted out all the pairings and all that kind of stuff. You just plugged all the numbers in at the end of the game. And it did all the work, which was an absolute godsend because if I hadn't have had that, trying to run it and playing it at the same time would have been significantly more stressful than it already was.
Yeah, bit of a player coach kind of weekend then, was it?
Very much.
Brilliant. No, that's interesting, isn't it? It's like you say, I think everybody wants to run a tournament until it's time to run a tournament. But I suppose, would you say that your line of work has kind of prepared you appropriately for that, with the line of work that you do and having to organize events? Would you say that, and run weekends, run those businesses, would you say your line of work has prepared you adequately for something of like a kill team tournament or no?
Yes, absolutely it has. And as well, because of my target audience in my day-to-day job, and the fact that everything is entirely voluntary, that you can organize the best event in the world, but if people don't turn up to it, you won't have the best event in the world, and there are certain things that are outside of your control.
Yeah, absolutely.
The phrase is, if you build it, they will come. Well, they might come, but they might only be a couple of them.
Yeah. That's always the way. Oh man, but it sounds like a really successful day though. In all seriousness, great time and some great sponsors as well, by all accounts, that helped out with those, because those prizes we were pretty decent prizes. Let's not mess around here. I know that Battle Systems definitely lent a good helping hand on some of those prizes with Chronicle RPG, and some of the prize was there were some really good prizes.
There absolutely was. I mean, obviously the first prize was the case by Deadwood Atelier, who are they're a veteran-owned company.
Yeah.
And just the quality of their product is phenomenal.
Really good.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Squatty proof, some would say.
Sorry?
Squatty proof, some would say.
Well, we'll see about that.
Oh no! Yeah.
But yeah, having the prizes laid out on the table, next to the admin desk through the day, and so many people, because we had a couple of people who turned up just as visitors as well. They weren't players. They just turned up to come and have a look and see what's going on, and people picking up the case, having a look at it. This is amazing. Oh, let's talk through this. Blah 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 blah. just the quality of it was phenomenal. Like I said, they're a veteran-owned company, so as part of one of the things that Plays with Soldiers does is we're trying to bring games and gaming and give it access to members of the armed forces who wouldn't necessarily have that kind of access.
Yeah,
Because either it's seen as too geeky and nerdy, or it's too complicated, or whatever. But having, especially war gamers who kind of hide about, in various places, and when you run that flag up and you go like, I'm a gamer, they kind of come out afterwards and go, oh yeah, I play a bit of 40k too. It's like,
bit of arts and crafts.
Arts and crafts. Anything that we can do to kind of push veteran-owned companies and things like this, we're happy to do, and their support was amazing. Obviously, you've mentioned battle systems there as well. They gave us a terrain set for us to use. I started using battle systems stuff when I first started Kill Team, because I needed a set of terrain and I needed it quite quickly, and it was and I could get it on Amazon Prime for next day delivery. And I used it and I loved it and it was really good. And then obviously I saw them at UK Games Expo, and they said, come back at the end of the day and we'll give you one. Super. Went back, used it for the tournament, and gave it away as a prize afterwards. My friend of the local game store here, Battleground Gaming, which here in Birmingham, they helped out with a lot of stuff. They lent me some terrain, they gave some prizes, and generally like that, let me advertise on their Discord server and all this kind of stuff. So they were really supportive as well. So
amazing. Yeah, on the whole battle systems thing, like the thought of having to paint and build terrain, honestly, I this is supposed to be a PG podcast here, mate, so I'll be careful how I choose my words. But let's just say there's a lot of things I would rather do with my time than build and paint scenery. And battle systems, all right, it's not going to be flush. It's, but what it is really well printed, quality material that you push fit together as like a plastic card thing, and it works really well and it looks great. In fact, not as a bit of product placement, but I actually have some here from the Cyberpunk core set of some of the boxes that I'm building at the moment, and some of the, it's just a little bit of a cargo crate.
nice.
I don't want to paint that. I don't want to paint that. I don't. But if I can just get it, push it out of a one of these, push it out of these, and literally pop it together, I'll take that over painting terrain, and at a fraction of the cost, 100%. But yeah, it was great to see the prize you had, and I think the success that you had from that tournament was it just speaks volumes of you putting yourself forward, doing it, having a go of like organizing it, and IRONBULL 2 coming to a space near you in 25.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start organizing now.
Yeah. We'll get the warning order out.
Yeah. So obviously we've mentioned about Kill Team. There's a new edition of Kill Team about to come out, and we're all getting thoroughly excited about that. But I also wanted to talk about boarding actions, because boarding actions is out now for a little bit of time, and I know I got the book as soon as it hit the shelves, and and I was like, ooh, exciting.
Very exciting.
So obviously there's the itch there to scratch when you are doing painting or you're flicking through magazines and you're like, oh, I really like the look of that army. Oh, I might start a new army. And looking at 40k and you've got 2,000 points that you suddenly need to buy and build and paint and whatnot. And it's like, oh, but boarding actions. Woo, I'll need 500 points. Woo,
Oh, buddy.
And to be honest with you, I'm really excited about boarding actions. I haven't played any yet, but I do obviously have my Death Guard that I can press into service for any kind of board gaming action. But it's also opened up the options to start something new. So
Yes.
I'm looking at 2 new armies, and I haven't decided whether I want to go for the Dark Eldar or for the Votan. Painting those little Jaegers has really got me into the Votan. And when I was in Battleground Gaming yesterday, I did pick up this.
Oh, hello. Hello.
So he's my Einar champion, and I thought, you know what, he'll just be a fun mini to paint, and that way I still don't feel as if I have made my choice. Because also, looking at the Einars, they look really good and they'll be great to paint. But then I also really like the Incubi.
Oh yeah.
They look really good to paint as well. So yeah, I still haven't made a decision. But what's your thoughts on boarding actions?
So I'm hanging off the coattails a little bit of Tabletop Tactics, because they did a whole podcast on boarding actions, and I'm just basically seconding what they're saying. It's just, I'm glad to see that someone at Games Workshop has just been told, just do something with this, but make it really good. And someone's gone, hold my beer, and they've gone, what do people want? Well, next to zero fluff, give every single faction their detachment rules that they can have, and you only need 500 points, and here's 1 billion pages of missions. Go. And it's just like but what's so cool about boarding actions, and again, like, looking through all the different missions, is there's so much gray space for you to make your own narrative play, which I just think it's just great. I think as a consumer and as a lover of the hobby, it's one of those questions like, how many 2,000 point games of Warhammer have you played this year? Don't worry, I'll wait. One.
I mean, I can count them on 2 hands.
Exactly that.
And that's only because I went to a tournament.
And this is it, and so you're like, well, I've got to put all this money together to pay 2,000 to find, 1 to 2,000 points worth. I mean, the whole thing about 2,000 points is a whole separate conversation, because I've had a chat about this through the week. But boarding actions is, like I say, it's a maximum of 500 points. Have less if you want. You don't need to buy vehicles. You don't need to have great big monsters. You've got your baseline troops, the models that you like the look of, that get to do the really cool stuff that they should do on the board, but at a micro level, on a really cool setting. And again, like you say, it's like 3 pages of fluff, and then it's rules and missions. Like it's 30 quid. That's all you ever need for until whenever. And as long as you've got an understanding of all you would need is just a set of the quick starter rules of the basic concepts of how a 40k game works. And then you've already got, and in that book, you've already got all your detachments, all your stratagems, all the stuff that you can use, all that in that one book. Like, I don't have to go and buy another sub book for another book for the, and it's just here's one book, go and play, and okay, yes, the actual terrain piece is a fair bit, but again, as we said before, something like battle systems, push fit the stuff together, make it yourself out of a bit of a cardboard. You just need some walls and some windows. You're good to go. So for me, I think boarding actions is quite how it's not had more of a push from Warhammer. I don't know. It's criminal that they haven't been more active in pushing out boarding actions. But from everyone I've spoke to, I've not heard of a single person that's had any complaints at all about boarding actions. And especially as someone new in the hobby, it's perfect. And for 2,000 points, I can have 4 armies that I like the look of, which, as you said, because again, my Heretical Jaegers, I've been painting them going, oh, hello, Leagues of Votan. Oh no, come on, man. Just itching my teeth,
Yeah.
but it does mean now you can go. I mean, everyone, like Taekwondo, everyone's got a black belt, but everyone's got Space Marines. Everyone's probably got 500 points over Space Marines. I don't know anyone who hasn't. So even if you just literally had like your 500 standard points of Space Marines, you could go and play it.
Yeah.
You can recreate Space Hulk. You can have your own narrative coming. There will be a mission in there in that book to go and do that. And again, I think there's so much. It just feels like someone's had a lot of fun making that book, and they've just gone. So someone's obviously gone. There's no strings. The leash is off. What would you like to do with this? And someone's gone. I know what I'd really like, and I reckon I know what the community would like. Here you go. And everyone's gone. Thank you. So the short way of saying it, I think boarding actions is fantastic, along with the new kill team as well.
Yeah, one of the great things about boarding actions when it first came out the first time around, I bought the train box for boarding actions. I got the Arcs of Omen books, which I loved, and that was great. And I had a read of them, and then they went and sat on the shelf. Yes, just like that one, right?
The Arcs of Omen books, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I bought this.
got all those books, and and it was great, and I read them, and I enjoyed it, and I never played. And then boarding actions seemed to just go away because obviously 9th changed to 10th, and nobody talked about boarding actions anymore. And I was like, oh, well, that's a bit of a shame. And then it came out again, and again there was all the excitement, and like I said, tabletop tactics. They were talking about it, and things like this. And it's like, ooh. And my first thought was like my first thought when 10th came out was, oh no, I'm going to have to rebuy everything, but no, I just bought a book, and and looking at your 500 points, how do you get 500 points of Botan, for example? Well, it's okay, you just look on the app, and the app has got the price, the points values of everything, so you just put it together that way. And I bought the book, and the book's fantastic, and unfortunately there's like a busier time of year coming up for me at the moment, so my little time that I had is quickly becoming compressed even more. But come January, my calendar really opens up again, and I just see that as I've got 3 months now to paint 500 points of Botan and Dark Eldar.
I mean, some would say there's like an IRONBULL tournament coming up in March. It would be quite convenient to have a boarding actions tournament in there. Some might say.
I mean, it's on the table now. It's on the table.
It's there. We've said it. It's basically my word is my bond. Oh dear. But yeah, no, I completely agree, mate. It's like you say, it's just like, as much as I love all the lore and it's great, I just want to play. I just want to play, man. I just want to play. But on Kill Team, have you managed to had a look at Kill Team at all? The new edition?
Well, the app came out yesterday. The new app, and obviously the big talking point there was around what was going to happen with Intercessors and Justinian, and it seems like they've just kind of smushed them together. Now, obviously, as I've spoke about previously, Justinian was the team that I took to the various tournaments and things like that. I had a box of Intercessors sat on my shelf that I kept saying I was going to do something with and never did. And then when they announced that third edition was coming out, I was like, well, I'm not going to do anything with them now because I don't know what I'm going to need. But yeah, as of yesterday's announcements, those have now crept off the shelf and they're still in the box, but the box is now on my painting table. So
it's made it to the to-do list.
Yes, it has. So I'm really excited. There was I watched yesterday a Play on Tabletop episode, which especially when I was getting back into 40k, I watched a lot of Play on Tabletop, And first time around when I got into Kill Team, they did a Kill Team narrative. So they have now the third edition's rolling round. They've got back into doing Kill Team again. They had a guy down from Just Another Kill Team podcast. Came down, played a game with them. If you want to see the video, go and find it on YouTube. Play on tabletop. It's really good because the way that they run it, it's the Vespid against the Imperial Guard. You know, the Aquilons, because I'm not allowed to call them Imperial Guard anymore. But it's those two forces from out the box. The table looks phenomenal. The scenery looks really good. And as they're going through, there's like the rules explanation as you're going through as well. So that's really helpful. And just watching that, there's some of the changes to me personally are needless. Like changing move action to reposition action. It's exactly the same thing. You've just changed, you know, and stuff like that often makes me think like, oh, come on, guys, you're better than this. Getting rid of the shapes and just using inches is absolutely what we needed.
Yeah,
shapes thing was silly.
I was about to say, when the first Kill Team came out, and they had, oh, this moves triangle, this moves circle. I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, just call it what it is. Just move 6 inches, shoot 12, done. Yeah. Stop with the, this moves, stop. No one says, nowhere ever in distance measurement is it not a number followed by its metric. Yeah. I have never gone, oh yeah, I'm traveling square this weekend. Okay. Do you know what I mean? It's stupid, but I'm glad they went back to it.
Yeah, very much so. It's great that they've got into that. And it's good that what I'm liking at is the rule system's ironed out, but it's not a complete change around. You know, they could very easily have done what they did when they swapped Warhammer Fantasy to Age of Sigmar, and they completely changed the system, which was one of the things that people were obviously concerned about with third, was that they were going to do a complete overhaul. Obviously, the rules and things like that have been leaked. They always do. They get leaked over the days and the weeks before a release. And we saw that they hadn't done that, and everybody was happy. The game pretty much plays as it did do. There's a couple of tweaks, but my friend at the local game store, Battleground, who I mentioned earlier, like I said, I was in there yesterday, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we might be getting the stuff in today," and I was like, "You have my phone number."
Yeah.
Yeah. There is already a very sizable pre-order, order waiting on your system. I'm still in Birmingham tomorrow, so call me.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it looks really good. For me, I went into my local Warhammer store the other day, saw it on the table, and I was like, wow, that's really, really, it looks fantastic. I just saw all that terrain and was like, no, thank you. So I think I've just pre-ordered the rulebook, really more than anything, just because I think that's ideal. Just the rulebook is quite nice, and obviously the data sheets are all downloadable for everyone, which I think is great. So again, I'll just print those off at home, and and then I'll print those off, put them in a little A5 folder, and then but like I say, I've already got my Heretical Jeagars, I've got my scouts, and my commandos, my Kazakins, which I think you can use anymore, can you?
No, I think the Kazakins unfortunately went the way of the dodo for this edition.
Yeah, so that's fun. And then
mate, just proxy them. I know one of the local players here plays the Sons Cabal, but he uses Grey Knights and Sisters Repentia instead.
Worry not, my friend. Worry not, because I spoke about something on my podcast last week about the fear of missing out factor, FOMO within Warhammer. Do you know what Muggins here did the other day? Because when I saw that and saw that Kazakins weren't on the pre-release, then I went on the Warhammer store and saw they weren't even available there, were they? I don't even play Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum, whatever we're going to call it. But guess what idiot over here went straight on Wayland Games and bought a box. I've had 2 years to buy them. Didn't bother. Didn't need them. As soon as I got told they were gone, I was like, what? I can't not have them. Shame.
Just put the wallet in a drawer, lock it, give the key to somebody else.
Like, I keep every single week, I'm like, oh, I'm on a model ban. And week in, week out, there's parcels coming to the house, and there's only so many times I can go, oh, someone bought me this. A company have sent me this out.
You see, this is the joys of being a board game reviewer, and obviously being part of a review circle. Is I get boxes every month with board games in. It's, oh yeah, the review copies. I'll review it, and then they get sent on. And 50% of the time that's true.
yeah, I hear you. No, I got you.
But yeah.
But the FOMO is so real. But yeah, no, I think I'm looking forward to. I think the one thing I am looking forward to with the kill team is the solo and co-op missions.
Absolutely.
I think that will get people playing more. I know, you're playing by yourself if you want to, but at least you can go, Joe, I've had a couple of games this week and I've understood the mechanics of what my team does. It's like going to, so like I use the analogy of like jiu-jitsu. I go to the gym and go to jiu-jitsu to train for a competition, but I can't go every day. But I can go to the gym every day, work on myself, work on my own technique. Kill team now has done that ability where you can go, oh, I'm not playing every day against people, but actually, I can play, I can work out what my team does in this new mechanic by myself. I get out on the kitchen table, I've got a spare hour, I'm gonna have a quick game, see what this, let's try this, let's try that. What does this now do? And they've generated these little rules for those. And like you said, you can just proxy those models. They don't have to be of any value. They literally is, what is it? It's a brew, a shooter, whatever. You know what I mean? But they've got like a distinctive characteristic. But now you've got the ability to go, well, this is what my kill team is. This is what my kill team does. But I'll put some proxies out wherever you're supposed to put them, and now I can practice using my kill team. So when it comes to that tournament, you'd be like, okay, cool. I know this. I'm now gonna have. Obviously, they're at a higher level of opponent, but at least you can go, right, I know what this rule does. I know what this rule does. I know what this rule does. And it's just boom, 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 boom. And I think, but with that means everyone else can do the same thing. So you're probably going to get a much better quality of game if you're at home playing the solo, co-op campaigns with yourself type thing. But I think now you're going to, when you go to tournaments like IRONBULL 2, you are going to get a better quality of opponent, which I think is really good for the community.
I completely agree with everything that you've said, and particularly bringing new players in. If you're an experienced player and you are bringing somebody new, introducing them into kill team, it's all very well doing you against them, and you might even plan their team, provide the models and everything like that, and they just turn up, but it's still you against them. And there's still going to be a certain aspect of, yes, my one Space Marine just destroyed 4 of your Imperial Guardsmen in one turn, and the beginner's like, oh, right, okay. Whereas if you're co-op playing, it's like, okay, it's you and me against the game, and these are the mechanics, and this is this, and this is the other. And if that newbie then starts losing people at a horrendous rate of knots, it's like, okay, well, that's the game, not somebody making a conscious decision, but I can help you, I can step in.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if you started to see like that concept being pushed into boarding actions. as a bit more of a horde mode type thing.
Yeah, almost like a tower defense type game.
Yeah, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw that coming into the creeping into sort of like boarding actions of like an additional like another mission pack where it's now horde mode, adding that kill team horde mode in essence, if you will, into board actions on a bigger scale. You know, which I think would be quite again quite cool.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think boarding actions is kind of ripe for that. You know, it's just having the AI working correctly. You know, because even when you look back at 1v minigames, Space Crusade, for example. You know, I mentioned it because it was on a podcast that I was listening to last week. You know, even Space Crusade, where you had 3 players who were all Space Marine squads, and then 1 player who was the enemy, in effect. You know, that was still 1 against many or 1 against 1. If you can construct the automator correctly, and a lot of games have done this. You see it a lot in the board game world. So I've just done a review of a game called Set a Watch, Swords of the Coin, by Rock Manor Games, and that's a tower defense game. You know, you have your adventurers, and at the end of the turn, there is a river of monsters who come out, and you then, you know, sort of attack off those monsters, and if you don't get through them all, they do damage to you because they've got through defenses. And that does it very well, and a lot of board games do it very well. And I think there's definitely an option to bring that into, especially boarding actions. You know, you're all different teams, all jumping on, all doing co-op, trying to do a mission, and then you have the automata, which is running all the aliens or whatever enemy forces that are coming towards you.
Yeah, really interesting ways to play. And I think for a lot of us, it's just getting that table time, because you can't, unless you run a gaming store, you're not going to get it. So I think trying to find ways of you being able to play and introduce that kind of like, you know, playability, you know, because not everyone's got £500 to spend on a PS5 and Space Marine 2. You know,
cards are for, Dan.
Sorry,
that's what credit cards are for.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, so I think, like I say, if they can start getting the AI right, I think is key. But I think if they pulled it off, which I'll be interested to see how it is done in the new kill team. There's no really, you know, and I think there's probably quite a good beta tester for that to see how it works. So yeah, so we'll see. Watch this space, I reckon.
Very much so. So I think that's going to bring us to an end of our little chat, unless there's anything that you want to cover before we sign off.
No, mate. I think the final point I'm just saying, like, well done to IRONBULL. I think that's, you know, deserves the congratulations that it's brought, because you've worked very hard for that. So I think a huge congratulations to you and what you've achieved there. And really, I think we're just looking forward to some more of your board gaming reviews. And Games Expo will be around the corner before we know it, and we'll be back there again.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Games Expo is beginning of June, and that's only 6 months away. Well, 9
yeah.
months away, but...
Yeah. Points come up. I'll be at Rally Point Games on the 2nd of November. Warhammer World for their charity event there. So if you're around, come say hello.
Fantastic. So, Dan, where do we find you in this social media verse that we are currently inhabiting?
Just very simply, Heresy is my therapy. Usually followed by what's going on, you bunch of heretics. Yeah, it's this Heresy is my therapy. Is where you can get me at. And for yourself, Scott?
So I'm Plays with Soldiers. I'm predominantly on Instagram, but I am on Twitter because I refuse to call it X. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Threads, and you know, now YouTube as well, as of the last sort of couple of months, which is hopefully where people are watching this.
Hopefully so, mate. Well, yeah, thanks for having us on. Thanks for your time, mate. Hopefully this will be a fan favorite, and the people will want will want Plays with Soldiers back as a regular guest for both of our channels. Does that make sense?
Well, hopefully so. I mean, you know where to find me. So yeah, thanks for coming on today and sort of chatting with me. It's been great. We've covered. We can just talk about Warhammer all day long, but
Literally,
said we have work lives and family lives and things like that. And while we're sitting here chatting, we're not sat there painting. So
you're absolutely right. The pile of shame only grows. I've added more stuff to a pre-order cart. I don't even need it. Brilliant, mate. Right, mate. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.
That you will. Take care, Dan. We'll see you on the
Cheers,
next.
mate.